本当？見えないでしょ？どこにいるのかな？見えないよ。What's good, Internet? It is Austin Walker. Welcome to Waypoint Radio, a special episode. Something that a lot of people have been clamoring for I guess, 2 years now? 2 years ago, 2017, had a great episode, one of my all-time favorites, with a developer who I respect a great deal. He's nodding his head right now. He is, let me tell you, the fit is right now.
I appreciate that.
Manveer Heir is here. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, Austin.
Welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the Waypoint audience.
Of course.
The feedback last time was like, given I had nothing to promote, I was just...
You were promoting your freedom. You were promoting, I'm about to go out there and make stuff happen.
Yeah, and now we're making stuff happen.
You were here not alone. You were here with Rashad Redic. Is Redic correct?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
It is right. You're not just telling me that. You're not just being okay. You would tell me if I got it wrong.
Oh, yeah, I would.
All right, good.
Oh, wait, can I correct you then?
Yes.
Because actually, I haven't told you this, so I'm going to do this live on the air. So, Manveer is my colonizer name.
Oh, shit.
This is the name that phonetically people have said to me since I was a kid.
That is my
and so
bad.
but I have gone by that.
Right.
And so
I
recently, in the last year or two, I was like, you know what? Why am I letting people call me Manveer when that's not the way you pronounce my name?
Ooh.
So the A in an Indian language in Punjabi, which I'm Punjabi Sikh, is more like a U.
Okay.
So it's actually pronounced Manveer.
Manveer.
So I'm now trying to tell all my friends and
right.
people that know me, and when I do conferences and interviews,
Yeah.
I'm actually Manveer Heir.
His name is coming out.
Listen, good.
So that is, So if you see me, Manveer.
Manveer. All right. Yeah. Manveer Heir. Right. Air is right.
Hair,
though.
no, it's hair.
It's hair.
It's
okay.
hair.
Okay. Manveer Heir.
Oh, shit, I don't even know if I knew that. I might have been fucking your shit up.
It happens, though, but that's okay. Like, correct it.
I'm so glad I brought you on board, boy.
For people who did not listen to that old episode, you should go listen to it. It's an all-time great. It was you, me, and Danielle. We talked a lot of shit. We talked a lot about your experiences in this industry.
Yes.
The quick summary for people who don't know where the two of you come from, and then we'll get into what you're doing now and why you're here. Manveer, you were at BioWare. You were at Raven. You worked on like Wolfenstein for Raven. You worked on, there's another Raven game that you were on, right?
I worked on the prototype for Singularity.
Which is a pretty dope game.
Yeah, I did a movie title that got canceled for a very large
That shit
franchise.
happens. That shit happens.
And,
You did multiplayer on Mass Effect 3.
No, I did single player stuff.
You said what's Mass Effect 2 too?
Yeah,
Okay, it was like combat design
I did a lot
and
of
stuff, right?
I did a lot of the
Okay.
class design, powers,
Cool.
and the combat. So most of my career I've done combat kind of stuff.
Right, totally. And then Rashad, I know that you were at Bethesda doing Fallout 3 stuff. You were on the Skyrim team doing art stuff like predominantly, right?
Yeah. I did environment art.
Right.
Also wrote books.
You also wrote books. You didn't tell me. See, I
Oh,
thought
yeah,
I did my
I was
research.
replaying
I didn't.
Skyrim recently. I'm like, what books did you write?
What'd you write?
I wrote the Herbane's Bestiary series, which was the guy who was trying to find the greatest challenge he could in the land. So he kept recording his experiences, which was telling the player how to kill that monster.
Right, like what the weaknesses are or whatever.
Yeah.
What was that? Was it interesting to write a fictional book inside of a fictional world? Was there like a second layer of writing happening there where you're like, you're inhabiting a character who is also writing a book? You're not just like writing lore. You're writing a character who is writing lore.
Right, but isn't that what you do whenever you write a story? Is you're inhabiting a character? So it was normal.
Nice.
Is that normal?
Yeah, that seems normal.
Pretend like you're somebody else.
Yeah.
Are you telling me Tamriel's not real?
Tamriel's real in your heart.
Okay.
We'll get back there in 2027 or whatever.
It's actually in Wisconsin.
Will it be free to play or like, no? I'm just kidding.
So the reason you're here together now, and you've both done other things over the years, y'all are co-founding a new company that recently announced its first project. And I say project because it's broader than just a single game.
Yeah.
The name of the company is Brass Lion Entertainment. And the name of the project is Corner Wolves, which is a dope name.
Thank you very much.
There's a GI, a Game Informer, like a 4-page feature story on it.
Yeah, and that Blizzard issue that just dropped. So
Right.
like, that's super exciting. We did not think a new startup kind of indie studio would get that kind of coverage from Game Informer.
Mm-hmm.
But those folks there, they get that we're trying to build a diverse studio and like trying to be center black and brown voices, and they loved what we were talking about and kind of just kept going. And then Rashad made some really dope art that's in there. That's for Corner Wolves. That really kind of sold the whole piece together.
So give me the pitch on Brass Line before we get into Corner Wolves specifically. Yeah. Again, centering Black and brown voices, obviously something you talked about a lot in the past, both in social media and on podcasts and et cetera. But like, how do you do that besides just hiring Black and brown creators, which is a huge and important part of that. But what goes into that when you sit down and go, all right, I'm starting a company called Brass Lion. This has to be filled with people who don't show up in other leadership roles across the industry.
Yeah, it's a few things. So one, while we are talking about games that are for like Black and brown like audiences and stuff like that, I think long term we're thinking even broader in terms of just marginalized voices, LGBTQ, the intersections of all those places, right? So really, what are the stories that aren't being told? Because I think games keep telling the same 7 stories over and over, and it's real boring at this point, for me at least. And I've said that like on this podcast before. So when you talk about building it, it is first off having your founding team be the types of people that you want to work with and that represent that. So obviously Rashad's here. I'm really fortunate to get to work with him. He's an amazing artist and creative director. It's like both of us are like the creative visionaries for what we do. We have a third partner who is not able to be here right now, Bryna Dabby Smith, and she's our CEO and executive producer. And so like, how often do you see women of color in those roles, like in our industry and stuff like that? And we're all very talented, have shipped titles. Like she's worked on Sleeping Dogs and Def Jam
big titles, like for real, coming from AAA space. Now moving into
run her own
independent
companies
space.
Before,
right?
So it's like,
and then you have like Just Blaze doing music.
We have Just Blaze doing our music supervision, and we have Evan Narcisse doing the writing for Corner Wolves.
Disclosure, Evan and I are working on that New Day comic for Boom, but also Evan and I have been friends for years. That shit happens. You know, this is the disclosure because I have to do it. Otherwise I'll get bad tweets at me and be like, Austin's out there doing promo. Like, no, this is just, we had a great conversation. I want to have another good conversation.
Yeah, so for me...
So that's a great team. Like from the jump.
Yeah, so far. I mean, that's just the beginning of the team.
Why do you sound like you're like... It sounded like you were dunking on your future self for making a bad hire. You were like, yeah, so far, but I'm going to fuck up in 3 weeks. I'm about to hire a dumbass.
No, I tell Brian and Rashad all the time, you got to save me from myself. Like, you know,
I mean, part of the thing that is funny to me is you founded the company and then, it's not funny, but it's like, I'm curious what went into your mind. You were like, I need an executive producer and a CEO who is not me.
Yeah, so I started reading a lot of like startup books and like how to be a businessman because I did not listen to my parents and go get an MBA. Mm-hmm. Indian parents always want you to get an MBA, and I was done after my comp sci degree of bachelor's. So
gotta go.
I was like, I just started reading all these books, and there's a few different things that came up. One was that like, hey, some investors don't really talk to teams that have a single founder. Second thing was if you don't have people who are a strong founding team, like a lot of the weight's on your shoulders. So I kind of funded this thing out of pocket for like the last couple of years. Like I left BioWare February 2017 when Mass Effect Andromeda like finished. And so like for me, it was just a lot of stress. I had some mental health issues to take care of, real frankly, because of this, like the stress casualties that many of us were over there.
Yeah.
And I'm good at business stuff, but it's not what I'm passionate about, right? So my thought was like, well, how do I find someone who's passionate about spreadsheets and schedules and all the stuff I don't like and want to do, but I have to do because I've decided to just start a business without partners, right? And Bryna and I had been talking. We had like brunch with a mutual friend, and she's like, oh, if you ever need any help, let me know. And I kind of slowly roped her in as a contract side. And then eventually I was like, this is going well. You want to be the CEO? And then very similar with Rashad, we have a mutual friend that like put us kind of had talked about us to each other separately. And he kind of hit me up and was like, I hear you're working on something really cool. Can we talk? And it was like really just trying to find the right fit. And when we talked, we were like, oh, and we think the same way about this stuff. We have the same vision for what things could be, but also you perfectly complement my weaknesses. Like I'm not visual. I can't do art. I'm not a great world builder. I'm a good character builder. Like I'm a systems builder and a combat builder. And he's great at all those other things. And so it's like combined. It's like, oh, now we have a full team.
Right.
So really for me, it was getting some of the stress off my shoulders, getting other people to share in that burden and vision. And then when you go out and try to fundraise, whether it's investors or publishers or whomever, angels even, you look a lot stronger because you are a lot stronger, right? Because if I was still trying to do this on my own, this is almost at year 3. Nah, man, I'd be a puddle of a mess.
You would have switched from which sort of stress you had. You had big business like stuck inside of one cog in the machine stress, and then you would have had just like all of the weight of trying to do one thing by yourself.
Yeah, which I still have, which is fun, but not nearly as bad because Rashad here and Brian both do a great job of just like taking some of that off, or I trust them, right? Like, I know that something is going to get done and I don't have to sit there and follow up like every 3 seconds. And it's hard to find people you trust, at least for me. Like I'm not a very easily trusting guy.
Right. Rashad, you've been, again, in the industry for a long time and you've worked at really, really big places like Bethesda. I'm curious for you, and you did some other stuff in between Bethesda and here, right? You were at RocketWorks working on a project.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, like, what that move is like from being, in such a big pipeline, being in such a, one of the things that I think people think a lot about the Bethesda style of game that is so fascinating is you and I could start playing right now. We could both play for 40 hours and see completely different things. Or like, the first 5 hours would be the same, first 3 hours might be the same, but we'd have all these divergences. We would consume such different content because I decided to follow the Dark Brotherhood path and you joined the Companions or whatever. And then because of that, we all saw different art assets. Because of that, we have a different vision of what, like I remember I went to Markarth in Skyrim like at hour 60. I was like, oh, there's a town up there? Oh, they're doing what? And I got there, I was like, wow, this place
I worked
looks...
on that city.
Yeah, I was going to say, didn't you work on that?
Good. That city's dope. I remember like looking down into it, like, oh, there's a verticality to this place.
I love the verticality.
Because it's this quarry. There's this whole sense of like history because of there's like this kind of layered, tiered system of like, here you're digging deep into the space. And there's this ancient Dwemer place like right here. That stuff was all dope, but I didn't see it for a long time. And I'm curious what it's like to be an artist on a project like that versus being the art director, the creative director on something like this, where the team is 5 people, right? So can you speak to that a little bit, what that transition might have been like?
Yeah, I think it's like freedom in like 2 different styles.
Yeah.
So when you're making those, like the thing that attracted me to those games in the beginning was that they're so large and so big that there's never a point where you're like, oh, we got enough art, we're good. Like it's just like, so I was
security.
Like, drop security. Exactly.
Absolutely.
I was like, all right, like I can just kind of do my thing,
right?
And
there will always
there's always space for it.
Yeah,
and it's enjoyable, but it's also enjoyable doing these sort of like smaller scale things because you're much more nimble in the decision process. So it's like, I can have a conversation and we can decide that we're going to do something and I don't have to go through a lead and go through a producer and go through a manager. I can just do it.
You'd be like, yo, is this a cool idea? Can I prototype this real quick? And
exactly.
You can do it.
And so there's like kind of like 2 types of people like in the industry. So there's people who like working kind of like in that machine and they just want their assignment and they just want to just do it and they're cool with that. And then there's other people who are just more, I don't want to say more creative, but they're more apt to just like do things.
Right. It's a different type of creativity.
Yeah.
Right?
I think of it in terms of like leaders and followers, and I don't mean to add any like negative spin to either of those terms. I just think some people want to take that more leadership and like drive the thing home. And I feel like you and I both have that personality, which is why we kind of thrive in an environment like this. And when you're a cog in a machine, like at least for me, I don't get the satisfaction of closing out 100 bugs in Jira. Like that shit's awful.
Well, it doesn't help that we have talked about this before, but like this is an industry where the people who are doing that work are not often well paid, do not have a lot of freedom in terms of like adding that level of creativity. Like there is such a degree of alienation from the thing you're making, so that even that job, if that job could be just like a 9 to 5, where you're like, all right, I'm going to come in from 9 to 5 and clear out those 100 bugs and go home.
Some people like that shit though.
Yeah, and that's great. That would be great. That's what I'm saying.
If I knew how to do that, 'cause I'm obsessed.
Totally. But we know that in this industry, even those people can't just do the 9 to 5.
No.
You know what I mean? So
if you do, you're going to get pushed out, or it's going to be brought up that you're not a team player or some other culture fit nonsense.
Right, totally. I mean, so that's a question for me too, is like thinking forward as people who have that vibe, that drive, that like, hey, I want to keep working on this stuff. One, how do you keep yourself from overworking yourself to death on this?
Don't ask that of startup people.
Okay. This is like I mean, again, we've been through this. You saw me when I first started this. The same thing.
Yeah.
Very much do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah,
Very much me like being here until 11 p.m., 11:30 p.m., writing articles about crunch. You know, like that. I've been through that, so I get it.
Yep.
How do you do it from the other angle, though, which is like, how will you know it's time to pull the brake? And either you have employees who you need to take care of, or you need to work. You need to at some point work with people who don't want to be the person who has that drive and that like, I want to do. How will you do you think about that as a manager?
Absolutely, yeah. So I mean, we're very much in that hustle mode right now, where it's just like do whatever you got to do to kind of get that next step.
Yeah.
Where we're confident about like where we're going to be in the next 3 to 5 years, right? We're on a very good path. You know, we have some things in the works that we can't talk about quite yet, but will come out very soon on socials and stuff like that. And that's all going to go well. But like in the immediacy, like we're not pulling full salaries or anything like that, right? Like we're putting all of our energy, time, money, love, etc. into this thing. So one is knowing that as founders, we also serve to benefit the most.
Yes.
You know, I have lots of problems with capitalism, but I also have to recognize that we are taking advantage of it or playing a part in it by building a corporation. So our benefit of doing that is the long-term play, right? Yeah. If you want to look at purely monetarily, I think there's more than that. Like, I think there's creative fulfillment.
Right. And also the idea of like, hey, we're trying to create a project that doesn't exist right now. We're trying to fill a need for audiences that don't see themselves.
Even more than that, I would draw it even wider. I would say that, yeah, I want to do really well and have plenty of money that I don't have to worry about money the rest of my career. Sure, I want all those things to happen for the company and us to do well. But no, I want this industry to fundamentally change, right? Like I'm kind of annoyed, if not sick of a large segment of this industry that decides to say that games can only be this one thing, that everything needs to be a power fantasy, that everything needs to be about saving the world, things like that. We're not telling and making enough interesting games. Like what are the new AAA franchises in the last 2 generations that are new,
right? That
have multiple games out or whatever that are great? You can count them on like one hand.
Yeah.
Right.
And those still basically often fit, at least in gameplay design. And that I think it was something like The Last of Us, which is a game that I don't love The Last of Us, but it's like huge.
Yeah.
And I would say like, okay, like in the narrative, you could make the case it's not a pure power fantasy.
Sure.
But in gameplay design, it certainly is.
Right.
In the gameplay design, that game fundamentally ends with a big, like a huge action sequence where you're bringing to bear all of the knowledge and technique that you've developed.
But that's what you're going to get when you're spending that kind of cash.
Totally. Yeah. Right.
So when we're on the indie part of the spectrum, it's easier for us to envision a game like this, you know, because we're not betting the farm on, this, one particular story, you know, so.
Right. Yeah. Which is like, that is the other thing, right? It's like we say like the last 2 generations, AAA space is what you mean, right? Like
I was specifically talking about AAA right there.
Because in the independent space, in the alt game space, there's lots of experimentation, lots of other stories being told, but those don't get, they don't get the coverage. They don't get the coverage because the audience isn't there. It's a really bad cyclical problem.
Yeah. So for us to answer your original question, like you pull the brakes by basically having honest conversations with your partners, understanding your employees, full-time staff, contractors, whatever, have different expectations because they have different remuneration and investment in the company, and it's not okay to ask those sorts of things of people. We've all been in through crunch and stuff.
Yeah.
I've been burnt out multiple times. I do not want that for other people at my studio.
I was going to say, you look healthy right now. You look good.
I don't feel good, but
I saw you right after Mass Effect Andromeda.
I saw you. It was
rough. I'm not like... I know what it's like. It's So comparatively,
I appreciate
you feel energetic. I can tell that you are excited. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Real quick. I mean, not real quick. Let's pivot. Rashad, you said, unlike this, and the this in that sentence was Corner Wolves, which is the project that you're working on now. Give me the pitch. As I've heard, Manveer, give me the Corner Wolves pitch. I want your version. What is Corner Wolves? Why should I be excited about it? Good.
You want to do the pitch meetings in the future.
There it is.
Oh, me?
Wow.
Damn. You better not start with me, man.
So what is it? What's Corner Wolves? Tell me about Corner Wolves.
All right. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Don't do that. No.
No, he will.
He will.
I'll let you go.
Corner Wolves is a story about an Afro-Latina in Harlem investigating the death of her father.
Okay.
And so it takes place in the 90s time period.
Okay.
And it sort of looks at
Harlem World era.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it kind of looks at the repercussions of living within, the system of the time. So, police brutality and
the war on drugs as a whole.
War on drugs, the era of the super predator, the era of
the super predator.
Shout out to Joe Biden.
Oh, you not know the super predator shit?
Shout out.
Wait, remind me?
That was the crime bill.
That was, there was a really bad Clinton crime bill that kind of came at during the war on drugs that kind of imagined this idea of young black men who were, these aren't just regular criminals. These are super predators.
Yeah, I mean, and you grew up, in the Jersey side of things, right? I grew up in the DC. He grew up in Oakland.
So I was about to say, everything with us was 3 strikes.
Right. Yeah.
Totally. And that's when everything, kind of changed.
Can you explain what that is for people who don't know what the 3 strike system was?
Basically on your 3rd drug offense, you go away for a very, very long time, regardless of what it is.
Right. It could have been a super minor offense, possession. Exactly.
It could have been possession. Yes. You could have had 1 rock in your pocket. Mm-hmm.
And you arrive at that place through a collaboration of different causes and influences. By you, I mean the state arrived at that by, especially in California, right? Where it's not just a bad war on drugs policy. It's a bad criminal reform and rehabilitation ideology. It's a history of politics that punishes governors who pardon people and governors who are quote unquote lenient on crime. It's fucked. And all that stuff is caught up in racism, etc. So Corner Wolves is in the mix on that stuff. Is that fair to say? Is that
totally.
It's a revenge story?
I wouldn't even classify it as a revenge story.
It's a mystery.
I would start with a mystery,
okay.
and you can see where it goes.
Okay.
But really, what it is here's the thing: people who work in the drug game, people who are in the inner city, who are involved in some sort of hustling or crime or whatever you want to call it, most of them are doing it as a way of surviving, right? That's just what you had to do to make it because there's a lack of opportunity there. Mm-hmm. So really, I think what we wanted to do was create something that humanized those characters and show, real frankly, if any of other folks were in this sort of generational situation where generation upon generation upon generation had been put down in this position, access to jobs and things like that had been cut off, that we would all probably fall into the same thing. And the thing is, the CIA put crack into LA and Cali, mm-hmm. right? The CIA through Reagan and stuff helped infect the inner city.
Hey, Dark Alliance was real.
Mm-hmm. So I really wanted to tell a human story. I really wanted to look at the war on drugs and its destruction, and I think a game with its systems is in the most interesting way that we could tell that. But what's really cool about Corner Wolves is we've already had some interest from more linear people.
Interesting.
So I just got back from LA with Bryna, and I can't say who we met with, but we've been talking to some really dope people over there who are interested in the possibilities of this.
In other formats?
In other formats as well. And I think you might even see that stuff happen sooner because games take a long time.
Right.
And we're in pre-production. So I think you'll see some of that other stuff maybe happen even sooner.
Cool.
And that just tells me that the world we're creating, the characters we're creating, the story, the mid-90s getting Just Blaze to do an authentic sounding soundtrack, that all of that stuff has legs.
Yeah.
And so for us, we talk about Brass Lion, we talk about ourselves being, which the reason is Brass Lion Entertainment, not Brass Lion Games.
Right.
We want to be bigger than just games, right? I saw Kojima just said that he's going to try to make movies and stuff. Yeah. And I'm starting off.
You're I'm going to beat him to it.
I mean, literally. I mean, that's my goal is to
get it.
Why Kojima should have been making movies for a while. Right. In many ways, he might be better at that. I have not played Death Stranding yet.
You should. I'm so desperate for you specifically to put time into Death Stranding as a gameplay.
Is that your kind of game though?
No, but as a gameplay design person.
But so I really like different experiences is the thing, right? So I think I'm gonna really. I like slow burns. I like things that are trying something different. So all that stuff I'm interested in. And then when you tell me it's a bunch of fetch fetch quest and walking. Like I'm like, is the
you
gameplay
might hate it,
is the game?
but
I might love it.
You might love it. Yeah.
Like,
let me tell you, I am for real.
He's wondering about the He's wondering about the walking.
It is. It's
no. Like the walking's a mechanic in that game. Like you have to have your balance.
Bro,
and stuff for, like the
you gotta use the left trigger. So it's so funny to me.
It's not QWOP, right?
It's not QWOP, but there's like one little QWOP thing, right? Which is in a world where, and I know I almost sound like Kojima. Did you see that quote he put out to some? It was translated, so it was like translated twice.
Yes.
I think it was I don't remember the outlet, but it was not an English speaking outlet, so that was translated from Japanese and then translated from the other language. It made it seem
like he was taking more credit than he really was.
Well, no, this was him saying that was a different thing. So this is him saying, "I'm not surprised American critics didn't love it. They love shooters." Right.
Okay.
But it's funny because like left trigger, right trigger in the last 2 generations means a first person shooter or a third person shooter where you aim down sights. Your ADS is on left trigger, right trigger is pull trigger. Left trigger in Death Stranding is you hold the left side of your backpack. Right trigger is you hold the right side of your backpack. And so it's like if you're falling to the left, you want to pull the right trigger to like pull yourself that way. So there's a lot of like holding them both down. Like, all right, I'm gonna try to climb this like weird configuration of rocks. It has a really good feel for that stuff. I'm really curious about your thoughts on that game in terms of reward and progression.
Yeah.
The sense of building a thing is wild. Like I really want you to see it.
It's when it goes on sale, I'll buy it. It's the thing I will play. It's not high on my list. Like,
absolutely.
I've just started playing like Monster Hunter recently. That's how far behind I am. But no, that game, I'm like, this is a problematic game that's amazing.
Yes, 100%.
I'm like, what I am doing in this game is awful.
Death Stranding is also that for what it's worth. That is also, that is a game where it is like, I cannot wait to go west and build things on empty land. You can't wait.
Yeah, but you can't build a studio. You can't build an identity on we need less power fantasies and then be mad when someone does something that's a little bit off.
Right.
It's the same way, like, I do not like David Cage's games at all. I think they suck personally, right?
I appreciate them, though.
But I appreciate they exist. Exactly. No, I completely agree because we do need to widen what games could be. And I can sit here and argue why I think that's bad gameplay, but that's an interesting theoretical conversation to have between designers for the art form.
Yeah, the whole thing for me is like, well, to some degree, I don't want to necessarily root for like the game that I like the most. I want to root for the game that's going to inspire the game that I like the most.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, what's the little B of games?
Right. What's the little B of game? Exactly.
For those of you who do not listen to rap, Lil B is one of the most influential rappers that's like rapper's favorite rapper. or if it helped, I grew up, south of West Virginia Tech, Push.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
Like,
yeah.
Pusha T's your rapper's favorite rapper.
Exactly. Your rapper's favorite rapper who is like exactly.
Also, he murdered Drake, and I think we should all take a moment.
Did you see Drake get booed?
He got booed. That shit's wild.
I feel bad about it.
Why?
But I also laugh about it.
Happens to the best of them.
It does. It was a mismatch.
Everyone needs to be humbled.
Everyone needs to be humbled. Not every audience is for you.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And I think it was a mistake on Tyler's part in the sense, for people who don't know, Tyler, the creator, just did a concert and invited Drake to come out. People thought Frank Ocean was going to come out. That audience is very different. There was a big disconnect.
And for the record, I saw Frank here in New York 2 years ago, and like
furious.
He did.
It was right after. It was like a year after Blonde, then probably, right? Or
no, it was right when Blonde came out. Okay. Spike Jones did the visuals. The visuals. It was wild. It was amazing. It's one of the best things I saw. And I saw it like right after Solange. Yeah, like one of the greatest things. So if I wanted to see Frank Ocean,
right,
and fucking Drake comes out, like I'm good with Drake. Like I enjoy some of his music. Like
I live in Canada.
I do not live in Canada anymore.
Oh, okay. Congratulations.
I after 9 years of the north of Montreal, and Montreal don't like Toronto anyways, but I escaped. I'm back in the DMV temporarily until I move back up. I'm going to move up here full time in the near future.
Cool.
Yeah. I just could not deal. Like, if I was there for that, I wouldn't be able to deal with that.
It would be bad. I wouldn't boo though. Is the thing. I would be in my feelings about it until Drake was in. You know what?
I have a weird politics about this because I don't think it's actually internally consistent with like what I say. The world should be. But like he's got enough money to handle booze.
He does.
That's
what the money is for.
Yeah. No.
Right?
It's like I don't think you should boo certain people and boo certain things.
Yeah, you're right.
You can boo Drake on stage. He can handle that.
He can handle. He could have. Yeah, you're right. Anyway. So the company used to have
awkward transition.
No, this is not an awkward transition. This transition is very appropriate because you're talking about how you kind of have a big mouth sometimes.
Who, me?
You. When you first pitched me this company,
Yes.
which was now years ago, it was like that conversation.
Yeah, you were one of the first people like...
It might have been after we did that podcast. You're like, listen, I think I'm going to name this thing
Big Mouth Games.
Big Mouth Games.
Yeah, I actually incorporated Big Mouth Games.
It does.
And it was in all caps.
Yep.
Because you got to scream it.
You got to scream it.
Yeah. No, I wanted that to be
Kid
the name.
Marrow's Twitter account.
Yeah, basically, shout out to Marrow. Definitely, I mean, this is a little name droppy, but like, I text Marrow sometimes. He texts like that too.
I bet he does.
He literally,
of course.
he always is all caps. Like, you do not get a lowercase from him. So yeah, made it Big Mouth Games in February, March of like 2017-ish.
Okay.
I think is when
But now it's Brass Lion.
Brass Lion we came with earlier this year because it turns out when we talked to our lawyers that a little company called Netflix
was putting out
in the fall of 2017 released this show called Big Mouth, and then they got the trademark for it. So it's like we could operate with the name Big Mouth,
but it would limit what you
couldn't
do.
trademark it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, no, we want to be a brand. Like Rashad and I were talking, Brian and we were talking. Like we want to be a brand. We want
have all over print racing shirts.
We want merch. We want the fitted. We want the lion logo. We have a really dope lion logo. Like we want like you to be wearing our stuff, and it doesn't feel geeky or weird or. So we just made a decision that, hey, let's just change the name. We haven't announced publicly.
So it's easy enough to make that change.
Yeah, I think it was the biggest hit to me because it was like my ego was tied up in it. But even I mean, it was just very personal. It's like my baby, right?
I get it.
In many ways. But we sat there and we brainstormed for a few days on like Slack. And like over to like we kind of converged. And then I think Brian threw out like the final version of it. And we were like, yeah, I like that one the most here. And we kind of like pretty quickly after that name came out, we're like, let's do Brass Lion. We checked, sit with it. We sat with it. We checked with the lawyers to make sure it wasn't taken.
Yep, that's wild, right?
And then I just went and bought every domain, got all the Twitter accounts.
And it sounds like something that should.
It sounds like it exists already. Right? Yeah, that's the best feeling. It's like, wait, how is this not a thing?
I already have my lion chain.
I love it. Yeah, you're ready to go.
So I was like,
is the fact that you're not Big Mouth Games, does that reflect that you're going to limit the spiciness anywhere?
I mean, you've met me. What's your Twitter handle?
Spice Brother 1.
There it is.
And I think we all know I'm all about the spice.
You're all about the spice.
The spice must flow.
I am the living embodiment of when keeping it real goes wrong.
That's absolutely true. Absolutely true.
Like, good for life, not good for a AAA game development career.
Well, and now you're not in AAA. And why. So you're able to have that freedom. Let's take a quick break. Let's come back. I actually want to hear more about Corner Wolves because we got off that topic. I want to go back to it because I have other questions from both the art and the design sides. So we'll be right back. All right, we are back. Before we got distracted with Death Stranding and Drake, like we are wont to do, you were talking about gameplay design and power fantasy.
Yeah.
And I need to know, and I know it's early still, and I know you probably can't talk about deep systems level stuff on Corner Wolves, but you've pitched me, Afro-Latina, her father gets killed. Is that right? Yeah?
Yeah.
I don't know. See, I'm trying to do
Poppy gets killed. That's not the bodega.
Killed. Oh, fuck. Mystery, 90s, Harlem, drug war era, hustlers, real people who are complicated, people who are compromised, people who are caught up in shit.
Yeah.
What does that play like? And from you as a designer, how do you make that interesting without it being a pure power fantasy, but without it also being just kind of like, and I'm not, just is not an insult here, but like, it is not a visual novel, right? I'm guessing there are.
No, it's not a visual novel.
Right, which I like. I like visual novels.
I mean, at least right now it is.
I would love for this to be a visual novel. Right. This is the thing.
I mean, there's a fallback or a side side game that we can do. That's the thing about owning your own company. We can just, to make a visual novel, we don't have to hire anybody else. We can just be the two of us.
If KFC is out here fucking making visual novels with marketing companies.
Wait, fam, KFC made a visual novel?
It sucks. It's so bad.
You played.
No. But the whole thing sucks. I did not play it.
Okay. I was going to say, where's Popeyes at?
Bad good or bad
No,
bad?
My understanding is bad.
Because
I remember the Burger King games.
Burger King was
Sneak King. That was great.
Great. Do you know who was behind Sneak King?
Oh, I forgot. But I didn't know this at one point in my life.
Karl Rove.
Wait. No, this is not where I thought this was going.
Sneak King was
What?
I'm wrong. Karlover's wrong. It's worse.
Oh God,
it's worse.
Is it Donald Trump?
It's worse.
What? How could it be worse?
Satan?
Why am I blanking on my guy's name? Because he's terrible. Oh wow. 1 second. Cotter, you're gonna have to cut this down because I have to get this now.
My favorite shit though is when he like pops up out of a trash can and offers you a burger and then you take it.
That shit is the creep. He's like, it's a little salty of a game. It makes me a little uncomfortable, like the way he's got that creeper smile.
Small media properties, among others, these various people. Steve Bannon loved doing deals. He had his hands in everything. He invested in or served on the board of companies that made products ranging from homeopathic nasal spray to branded video games for Burger King.
That's Steve Bannon.
Bruh. Breitbart asked Steve Bannon
yes,
Burger King sneaker helped make that deal happen.
He helped make that deal happen. He had money in that deal. He made money on that deal.
I mean, I know
Steve Bannon gets paid off of all of
I know I've funded white supremacy.
Is he a gamer?
No, he's not. No. Actually, wait. But yes, because Bannon was also
a gamer gator,
and also a gold farmer. Bannon ran gold farming companies.
Know about that one.
That sounds
during World of Warcraft. Anyway,
that sounds about right.
All right,
we are again way off topic.
I mean, we're here. It's true. This is what happens. We just kind of go off.
So,
remind me
the KFC. Okay, we'll work it backwards.
Yeah.
Steve Bannon, Sneak King. KFC visual novel, it was corny. It felt like it was trying to cash in on the success of American visual novels in the last few years, like Dream Daddy, but did not come from a place of understanding the genre or the history. Whereas, Dream Daddy was something I'm not like 100% on board Dream Daddy. I think it's pretty cool, but like there's a whole history of visual novels that I wish got the attention that some of the breakout ones did do. That said, I would fuck with a Corner Wolves visual novels. Like, if KFC could do it, y'all could do it.
Yeah, but in terms of gameplay, like, yes. I mean, look at the games that Rashad and I have shipped, right? Like, you got Fallout 3, Skyrim, Mass Effect 3, Mass Effect Andromeda.
Right.
Like, RPGs are in our blood.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're drawing heavy inspiration from the RPG as a genre. And then I've built combat systems most of my career. So, we're really talking about a more melee combat as a core kind of combat loop.
Okay.
And
it's
so
like an isometric type thing.
So that's stuff that we're playing around with that we're not ready to talk about because real frankly, is this going to change? Like, I think we've already changed our mind a couple of times in the last few months.
Yeah.
Like, but we're playing with lots of things from like the angle. And then the other part of it is real frankly. So while we're an indie studio, we're kind of shooting for a mid-tier kind of budget, and we're working with we're rep by CAA, so they're our agent, so they're helping us get our project out there in the world and talking to all the money people. But like, there's this like sweet, for me personally, I feel like between 5 and 20 million, you can make kind of risky games, take some risks, things like that, but not have to sell a bazillion units, right? But you have enough of a budget that you can market it bigger. It can become a big hit. It can, one big hit could like set the studio up for life. So we're aiming for that kind of range, which still means it's got to have enough mass market appeal. Like, I wouldn't make a visual novel. I mean, I wouldn't know what I would spend $5 million on a visual novel. I guess Just Blaze. I would get Just Blaze to get every song from the 90s.
Right.
I'd be like, Just, can you call Hove? Can you call... Please. Can you call Redman? Can you call... Like, let's use your Rolodex. But, no. That sort of genre doesn't sell that much and the budgets are smaller and that's okay. It's a sustainable thing.
Right.
So like we're talking about things that are kind of in that mid tier. So I think the action RPG as a genre is a good place to start. That's where we're starting from. That being said, I think whatever elements make sense, like I've played, Yakuza games and gotten ideas from there. I've played Persona games and gotten ideas.
They're making an RPG now too.
Also, I'm a little bit upset about
bro. I was like, what are you doing?
No, why is Yakuza 7 turn-based?
It's a turn-based RPG because the director loves Dragon Quest. That is 100%.
That's fine. Why do you do that with Judgment? Why you got to ruin...
Wow, I didn't know you call feelings on it like that. Let them experiment. You were just saying... What if you're like 20 minutes ago?
You experiment on your first game, not your franchise.
Yeah.
No, take risks.
No, I see. I would say take the risk on the because I think
I get you.
Judgment is the game you take the risk on because you created a new.
But
IP
that's not. Judgment wouldn't fit that though, because Judgment was not. For me, Judgment is already too much like Yakuza.
I haven't actually played through Judgment yet.
It's just a Yakuza game with some like detective.
Yeah, I just finally got the 4
So isn't that the perfect platform to take a risk on?
But I think you have to do a different story than Judgment. Judgment isn't a JRPG to me.
Okay.
Like I think there's too much combat in Judgment as it is. I think Judgment should have leaned further. I think Judgment should have been more like a visual novel, more like a Phoenix Wright game.
I can see that.
You know what I mean? There's a little bit of that in there, but there's not. Whereas I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Yeah,
I get it.
I'm all good. Yeah, it's like the things I come to this franchise for. Like one of them you just took away from me.
Right. Doing heat actions.
Man,
and they're in there, but they're not.
It's just different.
Yes.
It's gonna feel different, but it's okay.
It's weird.
It'll be interesting.
It's like I like turn-based stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't like turn-based stuff from a franchise that is giving me this other thing that
What if it's good?
that I like.
What if it's good?
It could be.
Yeah. Anyways,
we'll see.
We're looking at games like those. We're looking at smaller indie games. We've looked at things like roguelikes and roguelites and all that stuff. And so I feel like we're just drawing inspiration from a lot of different places. And so my kind of goal is to find really good design that works and piece it together so it feels like the holistic thing feels new and different. Mm-hmm. But maybe each individual element isn't completely. We're not reinventing the wheel, right?
You don't have to introduce someone, a new someone who sits down and plays is like, oh, okay, I can play this game. I don't need to internalize an entirely new genre of game for this.
Yeah, absolutely. And also to be really, upfront about it, it's also a way for us to de-risk our first project, right? Mm-hmm. Like if I try to create an entire new genre and mechanic, that's going to be real hard to do. Mm-hmm. It's going to be hard to do well, and it's going to be even harder to convince somebody to give me $5 to $20 million to do that. On when we haven't shipped anything in like
as a unit.
Yeah.
Rashad
and I can go like combined. We've sold like 60 million copies of RPGs, and mostly that's him, not me, because Skyrim.
Congrats on that, by the way.
I didn't get rich.
You didn't get rich on that? So. Now that didn't just filter down.
You would think.
Todd Howard didn't give you his golden Ferrari?
I didn't even get the golden toilet.
He didn't get the golden Hot Wheel. He didn't even get
Hot Wheel.
Of Todd Howard's Ferrari. All right, so I'm curious for you as the creative director on it, as like the visionary of art. How do you bring this era to life? Is it stylized? Is it like? Are you going for grimy? Are you going for realistic?
It's definitely stylized. I mean, like we're doing a lot of pre-production and sort of like concepting right now, which is kind of turning into our own house style.
Yeah.
But there's definite like anime like trappings to it. I mean, because anime is just, I don't think people understand like how much it's a part of the culture.
It is the culture. 100%.
It is.
Piccolo is black. Like, it is just the truth.
Can we just get a hat that says that?
Yeah, I think that exists. It has to. Piccolo's black hat has to.
It's next to the Tom Hanks is black.
Yeah. But no, right? So is that's one of the touchstones then?
Yeah,
like that
and that's like the time period where anime was like still fairly new in the US. Mm-hmm. So it just felt like it made a lot of sense like thematically.
Yeah.
To kind of like go back there.
That was the era of like the silk screen print, like Samurai Showdown shirt that you got from the spot that was just like Hahamaru with doing like the tornado swipe all over your entire chest.
Yep. Yeah, I remember people wearing that in college and being like, and you think that someone's gonna go home with you tonight, like man? Like what you
Listen,
doing here?
sometimes you meet someone who likes
you just
anime.
wear what you love and fuck everything else.
Fuck everything else. Fuck everything.
Spoken like an anime character.
People wear
I'm not as into anime, which is like I'm starting to like
you
a little bit more.
Into it. People wear Knicks jerseys all the time. Is what it's the one thing I want to say. So anyway,
no Knicks fans in here.
Nope. Lock the door.
If anybody checks out the Game Informer article, Rashad's done 2 really dope concept art pieces in there that kind of are the beginnings of what the style is.
Sure.
Now it could obviously change. It doesn't tell you like this is early work, but we wanted to share. So I think there's like a combat piece in there, kind of shows you it's very bright colors. And it's kind of a nighttime scene. There's another one of Jacinte, who's the main character, and her father, Papi, like kind of dead on the corner. And he kind of made a really awesome poster art out of that. And I think what's exciting is not just tying into the love of black culture has for anime, but also the making something that stands out. And everyone keeps going realistic and like doubling down on this. And the next console generation is about to come out, and power is about to go up again, not as exponentially as it did like between PS2 and PS3,
PS3, Xbox 360.
Yeah,
that was such a big weird jump.
Yeah, it was such a big jump. But this is going to be a little bit more linear, for lack of a better term. But I think that you need to stick out in the market by not chasing the realistic stuff. The big boys are going to do that, and they're going to have higher budgets, and they're going to spend more money on it. And me, I'd rather spend more times on something like more shaded style or anime style, something that sticks out, that's dope, that fits the game that we want.
Yeah, and it's also partly the economy of just like getting it done without 100 people. So
right. There are limits to what you can do there, but also it's like, how do we do this in a way that stands out?
Yeah.
Despite that.
And also the power too is really good for stylization now. Like you can do a lot of shader tricks that really sell like 2D much better than you could before. So
that's wild. Cool. That's not a thing I think you hear very often. Though I guess like I think about something like what was it? There's a 2D game that came out this year that was actually all in 3D. Oh, Bloodstained was something that's like that doesn't even look 2D. Or I guess really what I should talk about is like Dragon Ball Fighter Z, the stuff that the Arxis team does.
Actually, we looked at Dragonfall. That was one of the first reference things we looked at, and I played the crap out of that. I love that.
Yeah. Totally. Anything else? Any other influences that you would like to like shout out when you think about gameplay design, story, world? Like
from story, I just say the classic Hood movies, man. Do the Right Thing, Juice, New Jack City, Don't Be a Menace. Sorry, Don't Be a Menace. Do Menace to Society.
Menace to Society.
Real.
Well, okay, but what about Don't Be a Menace?
I mean, Don't Be a Menace is an amazing film. Message. And shout out to the late John Singleton. Yes, I think he's a pioneer. Really, I was super sad when he passed. California icon.
Did not get
and Boys in the Hood.
Man, I feel like the Singleton stuff is so wild to me because it was so influential and opened up doors by his presence in a way that like I don't think. You would very few people would be like Martin Scorsese, John Singleton, and that sucks. That is a problem.
Yeah, because I think Singleton's at that level.
Yeah, no, it's like because he wasn't super active like right now. Yes. It's like people underestimate and forget like how much he contributed over the years to like all of the shit that you think is your favorite stuff.
Right, people don't even say Spike Lee, John Singleton. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. Like even inside of black filmmakers.
Frankly, I mean, there's lots of things with Spike I love, but he's had a lot more misses than Singleton ever did.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you name like 10 classic Hood things, Singleton's in like 6 of them.
Yeah,
right, exactly.
And you don't even realize it. You're just like, wait,
what?
Baby boy? Like,
exactly.
Doing everything.
Exactly.
I was really sad when he passed. I mean, he's obviously a huge influence in my personal life as somebody who loves film. But also there was like this voice in my head that is like, I want to make a game that would make someone like that proud, like that he would be like, oh, you carrying a torch in a different way. And I realize I'm not a black man or what, my background is different as an Indian American, but I still care about the culture in a certain way, and I want to have authentic voices and people involved in our collaborative projects. And I feel like Corner Wolves has the ability to be that sort of thing. And so for me, like we want to make things that would make folks like that proud, right? Like that even if they're from a different medium, like that they would like.
So I'm curious, new topic. You both come from RPG heritage. You both have done the work in that space. What do you think of where the RPG is at right now, at the end of this generation, the end of this console cycle? Like, what is your vibe on where things are?
You got me into one of my now favorite RPGs.
Which?
Nier Automata.
Oh, word?
And I finally did all the playthroughs.
Amazing. Kato literally just finished it last week.
Yeah, also. I had like...
That is so not a thing I thought you did. Did I give you like the hard sell on it? It was like, you have to do it.
You were kind of just like, you have to do it.
Okay.
And you're like, you have to go through it all 3 times because it's actually different.
Yeah.
And I didn't like the playthrough B. It wasn't different enough.
Yep.
But you were like, you just told me, skip all the side stuff, power through it. And when I did that, and I hit C, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
So
that transition from B to C is
here's the thing that's kind of happened. RPG has expanded out to everything, right? Your NBA 2K20 or has RPG systems in its growth patterns. Your CODs have RPG systems. Everything kind of has a bit of RPG, and MMO stuff is in everything now because of live service, right? So the lines between genres has been blurred, and I think that's actually a good thing, right? So I think where RPG is in a really great position overall. You have things like The Witcher, which have done very well in a more classical sense, old school. You have some more indie stuff like the the Baldur's Gate 3 is coming out, and the Divinity games, and the Obsidian folks have made some stuff. I haven't played Outer Worlds yet, but I hear great things about it. It's the kind of thing I want to play. My backlog is huge, and
I'm sure you also are like super curious about that.
So the game I'm playing right now is Disco Elysium.
Okay, so that was huge. That's a huge thing I wanted to bring up.
So
I haven't played yet, but
I don't do drugs. But if I did do drugs, I would love to do drugs and play that game.
I do drugs. Are you telling me that I should be smoking a blunt and playing Disco Elysium tonight?
I think you might get a very spiritual experience out of that.
Oh, I should do some mushrooms.
I'm so curious. I'm so curious about your take on what
Mom,
Disco
if you're
Elysium
listening
is.
to this, I do not do mushrooms.
As a gameplay designer, because you can probably speak to this, that like the way that game handles like action resolution and like what counts as being like a difficult thing is so much broader than what most RPGs consider this is like a tough decision or this is a risky encounter.
They figured out a really clever way to basically give you a party system that you carry with you at all times.
Right, which is
yourself. Your stats basically talk to you.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Yeah, no, I need it. He's been he's the one who told me all about it, and then I was like, well, this counts as reference check for work, so
it does. It does.
Let's buy a copy. And he's been playing it, and like it just. And I heard you talk on the podcast about it briefly a few weeks ago with Eclepic.
Yeah.
And like it just sounds incredibly cool.
Yes,
I know I don't have time to delve into it right now.
I don't
but
either.
It sounds like a thing that I would love.
You're like, fuck it, I'm gonna make the time. You're like,
it's like a very cool modern interpretation of like a pen and paper system, which I like.
Yeah, definitely. That's cool. Do you think generally, I guess, again, from the art side and stuff like that, do you think that there is stuff happening in the RPG space that is like, do you think there's been development in this last, I really think about like the last 2 generations, starting at like the Xbox 360 era, where like you see Oblivion hit and open up the genre to a lot of people who weren't there, coming in more with Fallout 3, coming in more with Mass Effect, coming in more with Dragon Age, etc. Like that, the Bethesda BioWare crew, like that, those teams did so much to bring in new people for Western RPGs. In Japanese RPGs, you had Final Fantasy 15, you had Final Fantasy 14 on the MMO side that people love. Huge genre. But do you think there's like, what is next for the RPG? What is the thing that could like be the next generational jump in the same way that people think about like the Bethesda style RPG as being a thing that owned the last 2 generations?
I think the last frontier for RPGs is procedural storytelling.
Interesting.
I think when people figure out how to procedurally generate a narrative and procedurally generate characters that can generate those narratives, that's going to be like
the
and
there's
final
cool work happening
frontier.
there.
And if you want to make these RPGs as big as they are, at cost, like it's a problem that people are going to have to solve.
Right.
So I can't wait to see like where that goes.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it's going to be really cool. Whoever does it first.
Yeah.
I'm going to be more self-promotional, say the Hood RPG.
There it is. See?
Corner Wolves coming some year. It's probably not
the
anytime
future?
soon. Yeah. Definitely don't ask. It's not coming soon.
So when is Corner Wolves coming to stores?
It is going to be released on January. No.
Cool. All right. Last question, because we are running low on time here.
Yep.
Kato has a meeting, and we have to leave this room. I need to know. We're gonna do the thing we have to do.
Okay.
Which is, I haven't decided which version of it. We're going to do a top 5.
All right, which top 5?
And it's like, should we do hip hop top 5 or should we do video game top 5?
Your call. It's your show.
You're right. It is my show. Hip hop top 5.
All right.
I want to hear it.
My caveat is always these are my favorites, of course. And I don't think these are necessarily the quote unquote best.
This is all top. Well, I was going to say that's what all top 5s are, and that's not true.
No,
I know people like no.
We all see that Twitter. We all see that Twitter like list that's there.
Number 1, Joe Budden. Number 2.
Yeah, Mr. Can't Choose a Beat.
Yeah.
Wait, no, Just Gonna Hit Me. Like,
wow.
Pump It Up is like
Pump It Up is an all-time classic. Yeah. It's a good song.
It's a great song. It's a super fun club song. So my number 1 all time, I'm just going to put co-number 1s, Big Boy and Andre 3000, right?
Okay.
I'm Outkast Stand for life.
Yeah.
Grew up in the DC area, led us a lot of Dirty South. Those are 2 of my favorites. I'm gonna put Push in the conversation. Yes. I'm putting them at 3 for right now because you're making me do this on the fly. Missy is in my top 5. Missy is absolutely in my top 5.
It's just like what was the anniversary? 15-year anniversary of one of her records. Or 20-year anniversary.
Yeah, she had like a shorter album, like an EP that came out.
Yeah, EP's all right.
Yeah. It's not. Right. I mean, I wish there was a little, but I mean, she's a pioneer, and like in the South, like her sound from Virginia, just kind of like that was a lot of my youth at college and stuff like that. Was like Clips Records, Push, Neptune, stuff like that. And then I don't know who should be 5 here.
Well, who was 1? One was Outkast.
I'm saying Outkast as a whole as 1, and I think Big Boy does not get enough credit.
Agreed.
You know, just
that tweet that went around earlier this year that was like about how
was that Yes Jules?
Is that who it was?
I think so. I might be wrong on this.
The one that was like, well, Andre 3000 is like the smart one, and like
people sleep on Big Boy, and it gets me mad.
Outkast is one of the most influential music groups of any genre ever.
Yeah. I mean, Organized Noise as a whole, Dungeon Family as a whole, 100%. Like they just created a whole genre of sound.
Name me any other rap group that completely reinvented themselves every single album
every record, yeah, absolutely.
And that run, I always say that run of 5 records. You name me an artist that has a run better than Southern Playalistic, AT Aliens, Aquemini, Stankonia, and then worst of the 5, which is still won the Grammy.
Right, was the crossover hit.
And separate. Like the only bad album they ever had, and it wasn't even bad. It's just mediocre. It's
Idlewild. And that album's all right.
It's all right. I've gone back to it.
Yeah, I went back to it this summer, actually.
Yeah, I went back to it.
There's some all right tracks.
I'm just going to say Cameron for right now for number 5 because I'm a big Cam fan.
You know what? I love that about
If you ask me my top 5 on any single day, it's going to change. So, but always at the top will be Big Boy. Actually, Pimp C might be on that list too.
That's 6.
Okay.
You cutting.
Do it. Is Pimp C or is it Cam?
I think you have. Okay, I think you have you have to say Cam. You're making a game
in Harlem. It's true, and I mean,
then you're going to say Mace too, then, right?
You have to say Mace, then, too.
No, I don't know.
Reverend Mace, please.
Mason better. Mason better.
Oh, you know what? You already have Push, and Push does a good bass impression. So
it's true.
You're safe.
It's true. No, I think it is Cam, but I think if I was going one more, it would be like the 6 would be Pimp C.
Okay, Pimp C's great. Yep, absolutely. Rashad, do you have a top 5? Are you ready?
I do, but it's more traditional.
Okay. I would have. Okay.
There's
also you're from Oakland.
I am,
which shades this.
So
I mean,
like,
are the rappers from Oakland?
Pac is my top 5.
Yo, bro! Wow, the spice. My man about to get slapped.
And I just lost one of my partners.
Yeah. Nah, it's cool. That's what I expect a Canadian to say.
Oh, you gonna catch the fade outside? Hey,
getting stares from outside. People are not used to the spice.
Does Vice live stream dev fights?
Yeah, absolutely. World Star shit up.
Square up.
All right, so more traditional top 5.
So Pac is in my top 5.
Okay,
but Oakland Pac.
Oh wow,
Oakland Pac.
You're like that is it. Just okay.
Jay.
Yeah. Same.
Nas.
Same. You know what?
Nas. Oh, you disagree?
I don't know. Nas was in my top 5 for so long.
How could he not be?
He's incredible. I know. The thing that ends up happening is I end up doing a recency bias where it's like new stuff comes out and I want to not be the old head. I want to be open. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
His latest stuff hasn't been great.
He hasn't had.
But that's all right though, because the older stuff is
all
the
time.
greatest.
It is.
Like it is.
No,
so it's like,
yes,
yes.
The body of work is like cemented.
I would say the trunk of the work is cemented, but like the upper branches have.
Yeah, I'm with Austin on this.
Would you say the same about M?
Yes, absolutely. M is not in my top 5 anymore. Continue your top 5. I'm not trying to. Is M in your top 5? You said
Pac.
Oakland Pac. Jay, who I do agree with, despite the same criticism being valid.
A real list should have Jay and Nas on it, right? I just didn't grow up listening to that stuff as much. I got into that stuff later.
That's how it is. All right.
And Big.
And Big. So that is. So wait, and then Eminem?
No.
Sweet. So that's 4. Who's your 5th? The 5th slot's my favorite slot because the 5th slot you get leeway to do. That's how you get Cameron on a list.
Like he actually said Outkast, and I actually agree with that. But now I got to come up with like a different, like a different 5.
Bun B.
So I'm trying to I want to say maybe Cube because like Ice Cube or Snoop.
Yeah,
you know,
they created so much.
They both
culture.
had really, really high.
Their
peaks.
highs are really high.
I mean, they ran all the sound for a long period. It feels like.
I remember when America's Most Wanted came out, and everybody was shitting on him because he had just left.
Right,
and he came out with that, and I was like,
well,
but he reinvented himself. He went to the East Coast. He grabbed the Bomb Squad, and it's like when Game came out after the whole fifth. It's like you count it out, but the next album is dope. Like, what can you say? You got to give it up.
Exactly. So going back briefly, the idea of contributed so much to the sound. I think about this with Jay a lot, and about Just Blaze specifically is Blueprint drops, it changes hip hop forever.
Yeah.
And it's wild that we do the top 5 lists. That to me is why Jay is on the list. Is that between Blueprint and Black Album, and between Reasonable Doubt, you do Reasonable Doubt
to Volume 2.
Then you jump. There's stuff in the middle there that's valid that I like, but in terms of shaping what the sound is,
for sure,
you get 2.5 decades of sound between Reasonable Doubt, Volume 2, Blueprint, and Black Album.
And Jay's worst album is okay.
Right, is okay, but so much of that is producers, right? Blueprint is Blueprint because Blaze and Kanye.
Yeah, I think just Jay, my thing that knocks him down a slight bit, and then he's an all-timer, obviously. It was the things like Blueprint 2, which the original was just there's really good songs on there, and they made it eventually to Blueprint 2.1, which is amazing.
Which is great.
But it's really bloated.
Yes.
That
whole era of hip hop.
That's true. That's true.
Everybody's got one like that. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
There's not good double albums in general. There should.
Yeah, is there any?
No, I mean very few.
Again, you do
Speaker
Outcast
Box, Love Below.
Speaker Box, Love Below, but it's
I think
still
that's
the worst of the. Yeah.
Because I think half of the Love Below isn't actually that great.
Yeah,
the latter half of that isn't that great. I think Big Boy has the stronger side of that.
I think I like it still, but I get you. I think you're right.
I like it because I treat it like the Andre 3000 solo album that everybody asked for.
I'm
I already got that. It's called The Love Below.
Outkast is the only group that makes me feel like I was not mature enough to appreciate it when it came out at that time.
I got to do my
because when I go back, now I'm this is
this is grown person shit. Absolutely. You need to have the palette hasn't been developed.
And 444 was dope.
444 is amazing. I love 444.
Yes, agreed.
I didn't love some of the albums right before that.
If you had to put someone from the last 10 years who blew up in the last 10 years, not started in the last 10 years, because a lot of people blew up in the last 10 years, but did not necessarily. Who would that be?
Kendrick.
Kendrick
would easily be
So can I say something that I don't know? So I went back the last few weeks. I re-listened to everything from
Section
80
I think,
forward, and I like it still. Mm-hmm. I'm not as high on it as I was 2 or 3 years ago, and then I went back and I listened to everything from Vince Staples, and that holds up.
Vince
in a way
is
I did not.
I like the earlier stuff,
Vince more than
his double album is actually pretty. It's still a little bit bloated.
It's still a bit bloated,
but
was it Summertime?
Yeah, Summertime. 06?
Summertime 06 is for me. Summertime 06 might be. Summertime 06 is an all-time. If we talk about just albums, Summertime 06 might make it.
You know
for
what?
Me.
He had a really unorthodox sound on that album that was just different.
Yes.
And now his current stuff is more.
You're right.
Traditional.
It is more traditional, and funny because the Summertime 06 sound is now other places.
Yeah.
In a way that it just feels like it was ahead of its time a little bit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Also, low-key, Vince Staples, one of the funniest motherfuckers.
Incredible. You watched his...
I watched one of the episodes of his show. I need to rewatch it.
It's very funny.
I've been traveling.
Also, shout out to Vince Staples for calling out R. Kelly that one time.
Yeah, no, I love Vince.
Anyway,
the last 10 years, I guess that's just past Gucci because Gucci's 05, 06.
Yeah, Gucci's 05, 06. But
Cole is in that too, right?
Cole is in that. And
if you had asked me a few years ago, I would have said someone like Migos, but not anymore. The second they blew up, they just started pushing out the same bullshit.
Future, honestly, Future too. I think
Future was one of my favorite. DS2, one of my favorite. Future, highly problematic fave. I recognize that. Y'all don't gotta yell at me.
Yes, totally.
Also, because I like Outkast, Dungeon Family. Future's second generation.
Of course,
DS.
of course.
Who else in the last 10? I think Kendrick's the best answer because Kendrick got me.
It's
back.
automatic.
It's automatic. Yeah, absolutely. You're right.
No, Good Kid, Mad City. Also, shout out to Just again. He worked on Good Kid.
Good Kid is when you're doing that full listen through. It was Good Kid is still unimpeachable.
It is
still front to back.
And you know what? Because of the streaming era, the way streaming works, I don't think we're going to see concept albums like that anymore, right? It's all about singles and stuff. And we've kind of lost the idea of the album, which as an artist hurts me because...
Or again, we see it, just not from major label releases.
Yeah, I mean, but it's even harder to do, and like people don't listen to music that way anymore. They're all about like the curated playlist and shit like that.
You know what fucks me up is until this year, I probably would have put Chance on my favorite of the top last 10 years. I like Chance a lot.
That last album.
That last album was like made me rethink thoughts about my life.
I love acid rap. When acid rap came out,
I like acid rap, and
acid rap was amazing.
And I like 10 Day, which was
10 Day is amazing.
Was great before
Chance
that.
is like the
Coloring
only guy
Book
who
was
gets
good,
to like
but-
shit on you and be like, bless you, and then bounce.
Yeah, exactly, 100%.
Yeah.
And then this last album was just so washed.
But you know, there's guys coming up. I don't want to put him like the top or whatever, but just there's a lot of people I listen to now, like Dave East and
totally.
You know, A Boogie from New York, and a lot of those folks got really good voices that I think.
I really like Mikey Moore from.
I actually don't know Mikey Moore.
Look up Mikey Moore. His best stuff just got pulled off Spotify for some reason, which is funny.
Man.
But he has some good stuff on Spotify. On his SoundCloud is dope.
Okay.
Mikey Moore, More from Fort Lauderdale in Florida, which is cool.
Yeah.
Who
Also,
else?
Kodak Black just got locked up today. Thank
Did
God.
he?
Yeah. No, I'm against jail, but also that boy was getting a lot. I mean, he's a problem. I cannot rock with him.
I cannot rock with him.
I'm not
obviously.
saying
there are people out there who are like, I will nod my head to this beat. And also, I'd never want them to be near me or my city or any.
I remember the day when
anyone.
I was listening to like that breakout hit for XXX.
Yeah.
And then I found out like what the things he had done.
Same thing with Tekashi.
Oh yeah. Well, you know what? I liked Gummo and his first couple songs from the sound. Like he had that thing.
That sound.
But you could tell he was a clown. Like and now he's a snitch.
And now he's a snitch, a clown, and debatably.
Okay, in the last 10 years is
assault.
YG last 10 years?
YG?
YG. When did YG start?
I want to say late 2000s.
Okay,
but maybe you're right.
Yeah.
Because like YG, I'd put up there.
Right.
I really like YG's sound. Yeah. I like his style. I like that song he did recently with Loco I can know the Latinx artist. He's got a really interesting, good West Coast sound. I feel like that I fucks with.
Yeah.
Also, he called out Tamagotchi 6ix9ine all over the place, which needed to happen. That fake ass.
He said Tamagotchi 6ix9ine.
He's a fake ass blood.
Oh my god!
It'd be like me, a kid from the suburbs.
It would be
me from the suburbs of DC and Maryland. We'd be like, yeah, I'm hood.
Yeah.
Like no.
I respect the culture, but.
I know where. Yeah.
All right. Well, you know what? I respect both your top fives. The overlap there is real, for real. So
let's just do a full podcast where we talk hip hop.
I would love to.
I mean, we said it last time. Now we're saying it again. Third time it's gonna happen.
Yeah, because like the stuff that's out there are good hip hop podcasts out there, but we're not on them.
Yeah,
so
like the intersection
they're not as good as they could be.
The intersection of the culture, of
right
the hip hop culture, black culture, and then gaming culture. Let's find that intersection. Let's do that.
All right.
We live it every day. So
I mean,
that's true.
No, it's true. Like, you know what? Like I said this very early on, having a new studio is like the first time. Like we talking like you can code switch and it's not a big problem. Right. You can just be yourself.
We've had the code. We haven't, but we've had the code switch.
I mean, we're talking about like a code switch mechanic in our game, right? Because Jacente is half Dominican, half. Right. So like I don't know exactly what that is yet.
Yes. But you're thinking about that.
Yeah, it's like how do you make a conversation system where code switching is a mechanic? How do you do these sorts of things? I think those are things that haven't happened in an RPG. Those are places that, you know, instead of the sad, happy, mad bullshit that you just get in every
right.
I won't shade my former employees.
Your former employees for the games that you're proud of working on.
I am proud of working on it, and
with
I learned
teams that you probably had good friends on. And
absolutely, yeah. It's never the people at the low level,
right?
It's always management.
It's always management. It's very funny you say
that. It's the not creatives.
Not
creatives ruin everything.
Not creatives. Except for when they're the ones who know how to make sure you can like pay your people and get your spreadsheets done right and etc.
So you're telling Shane that you need to get paid?
Shane. No, I mean, you know, I just filed like 5 invoices, so fuck you, pay me.
He's on his jet.
Shane. If we're gonna move on.
Whoops, my
where
bad.
can people find you on the internet?
Well, first
Manveer?
off, please, thank you for getting my name right. I really appreciate it.
I'm learning it. I'm just gotta get in here.
You can follow me at King Curry Thunder on Twitter and Instagram, but please also check out at Brass Lion Ent on Twitter and Instagram.
ENT.
ENT, short for entertainment,
Right.
and at Corner Wolves. If you want to know more about the project, check out the new Game Informer that's out now, the Blizzard issue. It's got Diablo 4 stuff in it, and it's also got some great concept art that Rashad has made, and a lot more about our philosophy. Yeah.
Rashad, where can people find you on the internet?
They can find me at Spice Brother 1 on Twitter.
The spice is real. Between King Curry Thunder and Spice Brother 1, the degree of heat coming off of these microphones is high.
A lot of Scovilles. A lot of Scovilles.
High Scovilles. Follow me on Twitter at Austin_Walker. Follow everything we do here at Waypoint. Twitter.com/Waypoint. Waypoint.vice.com. Facebook.com/WaypointVice. We'll be back sometime in the future. I don't know when this is dropping, but we'll be back a number of days from now to talk more about video games, probably less about hip hop. Unfortunately, they won't let me do that. That's why I have to take advantage of this opportunity.
Well, we appreciate you having us, man.
Thank you for coming through.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Thank you. As I say at the end of every podcast now, fuck capitalism. Go home.
Fuck capitalism, but
But also,
money.
we all need money. Yeah, absolutely.
But you can fund my project.
Yeah, exactly. Peace.